Excellent. So what I'd like to do first before I share my screen is I just want to introduce you and Maureen to each other and then let you tell each other a little bit about yourself, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, so Maureen, please meet Wanda. Wanda, meet Maureen.
Hi,
You're
Maureen.
both on the same.
Hi, Wanda.
Hi.
Happy to meet you.
Likewise.
Thank you. I live in Washington State, and I have been studying the Venus cycle with Kaylin Castell for probably 8 years now, and I got to know a lot about it in all the different signs and what it meant. And then when I went to France, Sophia Mona Lisa was my roommate, and we just hit it off. It was just a wonderful friendship, and we are both in Venus classes, and so now I want the benefit of learning all she knows. So I am extremely happy to be here.
Very nice. Oh, it's exciting for me to hear that you two are roommates and how your history started. Yeah, that's nice. Thank you. I met Kalika Eileen about, my gosh, what, 10 years ago or longer now?
Probably.
And we also met at a function. It was a Breath of Love function. And we were not roommates, but we hit it off. We seemed to have the same sense of humor. And I have called, now do you know Eileen by Eileen, or is it Kalika? Which one?
She knows me as Sophia Mona Lisa. That's my high priestess name, and that's the name I've been using for several years now.
Okay, because so I've known Sophia Mona Lisa. That kind of dropped my train of thought. I'm sorry.
About a decade.
Yeah, I have contacted Sophia off and on throughout the years for astrological information and for guidance, and I've always felt that there was such a high wisdom. And when this was offered, I was just very excited because I'm at a time in my life where I'm trying to decide if I'm going to move or if I feel like I want to move from where I live. I've lived here for about 40 years, and I'm a little homebody, though. The thought of packing up that's not top on my priority. So I'm just trying to come to some answers. Yeah.
And Wanda is in Ventura, Maureen.
Oh, okay. All right.
So you guys are on the same coast.
Yeah.
We are, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to just share my screen here.
Okay.
There we go. So can everybody see the screen okay?
Yep.
Excellent. So we're just starting the Gemini Goddess Morning Star Journey. And a lot of the first part of this class is going to be review for Maureen. And I really felt like it was necessary to bring Wanda up to speed, not with all the detail we know, but to at least give her a foundation to be able to move forward with us. And so through these first few screens, Maureen, if there's anything that you'd like to share that you think is significant that Wanda should be aware of, please feel free to jump in. Okay.
Will I want pencil and paper?
If it makes you feel good, you're welcome to do that. This is being recorded, and the recording I will post on the resources page. I sent you a link to that earlier.
Yes.
Have either of you tried getting onto the resources page yet?
No.
How about you, Maureen?
Yeah, I got to look at it. Yes,
Okay.
I haven't worked with it yet, but
okay.
Yeah.
So if you have any problems, Wanda, just remember that it is a password protected page. So the password is Gemini Alchemy, capital G, capital A. If you have any problems, let me know, and I'll send you guys out an email when it's posted, because the recording, we're going to be here for about 2 hours. It's going to be a long recording. It has to have time to compile before I can upload it.
Okay.
So I'll let you know when it's uploaded. So it's up to you if you want pencil and paper, or if you just want to listen and then have the recording available. On the resources page, there's also a PDF of the slides available to you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first thing that I want you to be aware of, Wanda, is, oops, sorry, we're going into what's called the first gate activation, which starts, because this is a morning star journey, it's a descent journey according to the Inanna myth, which we'll get into a little bit later. But so we start at the crown, activating the crown chakra, and that's actually going to happen tomorrow, July 16th. So if you'll remember, we said we were always going to do the class the Sunday before the activation. So since I couldn't do it because of the tech problems on Sunday, I'm really happy that we've been able to get this class in before the actual activation tomorrow. And you'll see here that the activation is happening at 13 degrees of Gemini. And we'll talk about that a little bit more too. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So let me get my my mouse to work. There we go. So here's the agenda for today. It's really slam packed, and you know me from having readings with me, I try to squeeze a lot into a little space. So because this is a mystery school, and because Maureen and I are both of the priestess lineage, we're very accustomed to starting everything by opening sacred space. And you'll see that, and you'll become familiar with that as we go through the classes.
Okay.
Then we're going to talk a little bit about Inanna, and this might be something a little new for you, Maureen. I mean, I don't know how deep you've gone into Inanna, but because the Venus cycle follows the myth of Inanna, where she goes down into the underworld to meet her sister. She's there for 3 days, hanging on the hook dead in the underworld, what we call the Inanna underworld. And then she rises again in the ascent journey. It's very much an integral part of this journey that we're taking and of the Venus cycle. So I'm going to just give you a little bit more background information on the symbology that we see in the depictions of Inanna, how Inanna is known as the lioness and what the significance of that is, and some ancient depictions of her and some more modern depictions of her. Then we're going to talk about the Venus Synodic Cycle and the Venus 8-year cycle. This is stuff that Maureen is very familiar with and can pitch in on. We're going to talk about the Gemini Rainbow Meta Goddess. The Gemini Meta Goddess is known as the Rainbow Goddess. She also has some other names as well, and Maureen can help share some of the other aspects of Gemini's as a goddess. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the crown chakra, because that's where we're getting activated. And we're going to talk about some basic astrology terms, because I want to make sure that we're all using the same vocabulary and we have a foundational understanding, so that as I'm talking, it's not going over your head. Because really, through this mystery school, you're going to be taking this information that I'm sharing with you, and you're going to start intuitively applying it for yourself to your own solar return charts. And we're going to even start that today with this first class. So then we're going to talk about the first gate activation aspects. Just to refer, to clarify, an aspect is when one or more luminary bodies comes into any kind of configuration with each other. So when they're impacting each other, that's called an aspect. So all of the aspects that are happening tomorrow in the sky at the time of this first gate activation. And then we'll talk about the themes that are related to those aspects. And that's where I'm going to start pulling you into using your own intuition. And then at the end, we'll have any questions and answers. So how does that sound? Are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Great.
We're going to start with the invocation of Inanna. I want to show you here, this is a beautiful image of the rainbow goddess that I found. And I love that she's burning the sage, because that seems really appropriate for an invocation. Mm-hmm. And then I found this invocation of Inanna. It's a prayer based on the exaltation of Inanna, written by this poet. And I don't know how to pronounce her name. Enheduanna, I don't know how to pronounce it, because she's from 2300 BC. She's the earliest known poet whose name has been recorded. And she was a high priestess to the goddess Inanna. And she wrote this invocation. So I'm going to, I've got here just to show you, I used some sprays from Amanda Ellis. This is a magenta bridge. It bridges heaven to earth. I'm going to spray this for myself. And then I also have a spray. It's these are Metatron sprays, Archangel Metatron sprays. It's a silver spray. It's for the crown chakra. I'm going to spray that. So if you have anything that you'd like to do to spray, any sage, any incense, anything that you'd like to burn for yourself as we create this sacred space, please feel free to do that now. Beautiful. And Wanda, I'm going to throw you in the deep end because this is really your first initiation with Inanna. I'm going to ask you to read this invocation so that you can really connect with her on a deep level through your voice.
Oh, you want me to do it now?
Yes.
Okay, because our pictures are kind of covering part of it, I think.
You can move your pictures if you put your mouse, you'll see there's a little black bar up there and you can move them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hail Inanna, goddess of love and procreation, queen of all given powers, unveiled clear light, unfailing women wearing brilliance, cherished in heaven and earth, chosen, sanctified in heaven, grand in your adornments, crowned with your beloved goodness. Rightfully, you are high priestess. Your hand sees the seven fixed powers, my queen of fundamental forces, guardian of essential cosmic sources, mistress of the scheme of order, great queen of queens, babe of a holy womb, greater than the mother who bore you, you all-knowing, you wise vision, lady of all lands, life giver for the many, faithful goddess, worthy of powers, to sing your praise is exalted. Let me feel your presence within me so that I can feed myself with the strength I need. Let me hear your voice through my heart to make the best decisions in difficult times. You, my goddess, who has power over all things, release me from any evil and renew my hopes every day. I ask you for courage and resilience. You are my fortress, my protective shield against adversity. You of the bountiful heart, you of the radiant heart. I will sing of your cosmic powers. You lift up the elements, bind them to your hands, gather in your powers, and press them to your breast. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for letting me do that.
And there's just that last little paragraph there.
You are Inanna, supreme in heaven and earth. Praise her who received the unchanging powers. Praise my lady wrapped in beauty. Praise be to Inanna.
Thank you so much, Wanda. That's very powerful. I was getting goosebumps.
Thank you for letting me do that.
Yes. Beautiful.
Okay, so let's talk about the symbology of Inanna. Here is one of the ancient depictions of Inanna. And what we see in almost every depiction of Inanna is that she has wings. This is a symbol that is related to her. And you'll see that in the other depictions that I'm going to show you as well. And so what these wings mean is that in the myth, she was able to take flight. She was able to visit various areas, whoops, sorry about that, areas of her rule at will, and that she was as agile as a bird. And the wings also represent freedom, inspiration, and uplifting messages of hope and peace. We also see in all of the depictions of Inanna, she's always wearing some kind of a crown. And this is really interesting because, of course, we're activating the crown chakra right now. So the crown represents her status as royalty among even the gods and goddesses. The crown also represents her level of enlightenment. And so that has to do with higher thought, higher mind, and higher purpose. And the crown is also an icon of power. And it generally represents having some kind of station of elevation over all of those that are around you. The other thing that we typically see with Inanna is the lion or the lioness. And you see here, her feet that look like birds' feet are here on these lions. And so that is something that's really a spectacular symbol that I wanted to dig into a little bit more. And I found this book called The Biography of Goddess Inanna, Indomitable Queen of Heaven, Earth, and Almost Everything. Her story is woman's story. And I got it, the Kindle version on Amazon for like $3.99. And it's a pretty intense book, as you can imagine. And in that book, she talks about Inanna as the lioness. And I am going to read this to you because it's really powerful. And as a priestess, this is really speaking to what our work is about as priestesses. Inanna is called Labatu, lioness. She is envisioned as a lion. Great cats accompany Great Mother. In every land, the feline giants roam. Early art shows lions accompanying a goddess mother seated and giving birth. They support her or flank her chair of women's blood power. Big cats have blood on their muzzles after a kill. Menstrual blood is on the vaginal mouth. Women's blood is powerful. Blood is thought to form the fetus. Far-flung cultures use the same image of big cats and Great Mother. Inanna's throne is guarded by lions. She rides a team of 7 lions. She holds haltered, tame lions and sits on her cushion beside a lion. Inanna represents the fearful, and in parentheses it says for men, the fearful blood taboo. This is very much a part of the Scorpion mysteries that Maureen and I are a part of. When she stands glaring and nude on her lions, with a quiver at her back, bristling with arrow shafts and accompanying a king to war. Great Goddess Mother, in lands where great cats roam, is associated with lions, leopards, jaguars, and panthers. Inanna leads, stands beside or on, rides, or is pulled in a cart by lions. She is a lioness who calms the gods. She sits nude on her cushion in heavenly seclusion. Hold on, up, sorry. Went backwards. And I can't, let's see if I can move this. There we go. In heavenly seclusion with a lion in attendance. So, you know, Maureen and I have been doing this work a long time. And has anybody ever talked about this particular symbology of Inanna to you in terms of her as the lioness and what the lion represents? Maureen?
Oh, only through the goddess segment, through that. Yes, I understand that symbology. Yeah.
Right, but have you ever been has it ever been shared with you that this symbology is such an integral part of Inanna and who she is?
No, no. It has. I've seen that picture or that photograph before of her standing on the lions, and I've seen that, but no, I didn't realize it was that much of a part of her legend. That's her myth. So
Exactly.
that's really good because the lioness is real important to me, and
Yes.
as a guardian, so to speak, you know, a totem. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And likewise, no one has, in terms of speaking of Inanna, has ever brought this wisdom out and shared it with me before. So I was
No.
really, when I started looking around, because I noticed these symbols that were being shared across these depictions, and I started looking into this, I was just stunned to find this piece of wisdom and was really excited to share it with you.
It is wonderful to be able to read that. Yes, I'm excited about it. So I've always identified Inanna with the lioness. It's just always been a part of it since I began the study, and I began writing about her and studying the Sekhmet goddess, you know, and the feline face appeared to me in the moon. I think I've showed you that photo. A lot
Yes.
of people think that I photoshopped it, or I don't know how to use Photoshop, but it's a real photo of clouds moving across the moon in showing the face of a lion, you know, so.
Yeah, that was really powerful.
Yeah.
So what I want to do now is I want to show you some of these older ancient images of Inanna. We see they all have the crown, they all have the wings, and they all have the lion. And now when we look at the modern images of Inanna, we see here that yes, Sekhmet is a depiction of Inanna. Because remember, Inanna is from the Sumerian culture. And these are some other names for her in various other cultures: Astarte, Ishtar, Asherah, and then Sekhmet. In the Egyptian pantheon, Sekhmet is the representation of Inanna, and Sekhmet is the mother goddess in the triple moon goddess version of in Egypt. It's Sekhmet, it's Bast, and do you remember who the other one is?
Hathor, I think.
Yes, you're right. Sekhmet, Hathor, and Bast they're the triple moon goddess. Has anybody ever told you, Maureen, that Sekhmet is a representation of Inanna?
No.
Isn't this amazing to discover this?
It is. It is absolutely amazing. It just makes so much sense. No,
Yes.
I didn't know.
I didn't know either after all the work we've done. And I love these. I mean, the ancient images are beautiful, but look at these modern images. They're really spectacular. And we've got the same symbology: the crown, the wings, and the lions. The crown, the wings, and then here she is, almost looking in at her mirror self at Sekhmet. And look at Sekhmet has wings. And I've never seen an image of Sekhmet with wings.
No. No. And look at her crown, Sekhmet's crown in the one picture. It's triple. There's three.
Yep.
That's so fascinating.
It is fascinating. So, and Wanda, in case you're not aware, Inanna is known as the Queen of Heaven. She is considered the great mother from the Sumerian times.
And Sekhmet was the temple or the burial ground you went to see outside of Las Vegas?
It was the temple. Yes, when I went to Las Vegas, and you were in Texas, and I invited you, if you were coming through Las Vegas while I was there, to go to the temple with me. Yes, I went to the Sekhmet temple there.
Wow.
Yeah. And Maureen has seen Sekhmet in Egypt. You want to
Yes.
share about that, Maureen?
Yes. I went to Egypt because I wanted to connect with the ancient stories and myths. And so when we went to Luxor, within that temple is the Temple of Sekhmet. And within the temple is called the Holy of Holies. And so only the high priestess was allowed to go into the Holy of Holies. And on this tour, we were allowed to go in there and have ceremony. There's a beautiful statue of her in there. It's quite tall. After the ceremony, I totally broke down. I've never experienced anything like that. And this was my first learning. I didn't know Sekhmet. I had no idea who she was, anything about her. And after ceremony, it was such a powerful awakening that all the strength drained from my body. And I was just bawling. And I could not figure out what on earth is going on. And I had to be helped out of the temple. And it took me a full 30 minutes to regain enough strength in my legs where I could walk alone. And it took me many years to figure out what had happened in there. Is that she began my initiation, and she burned me to the ground in order that I may rebuild. And so that's how I've always looked at it, is that she is that beginning for me. And very, very powerful goddess, very powerful. And I think a lot of women have found that about her. She's not gentle.
No.
She is not a gentle goddess at all. She does what she has to do. Yeah. Oh, thank you. She does what she has to do to wake you up. And I've always called that the cosmic 2x4. You know, she just whacks you, shakes you, wake up. And that's really hard, but I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah.
Was it just women that was in your group that went to Egypt? Was it only women that was in your group that went to
No,
Egypt?
there were a few men, not many, but
And
a
they
few.
were allowed inside for the ceremony as well?
Yes. Yes, they are. They weren't originally, I don't believe, because it was all high priestesses that attended her in Egypt. But now, yes, anybody that's, because when you go on the tour, you have to pay to get in there. So the tour leader has to do that, has to arrange it. And it's all about money when you go to Egypt. So you have to be aware that the Egyptians themselves do not particularly see this as important, but they do like the money that we bring in. So it's a little bit of a conflict.
Thank you for sharing that.
So this is the Venus Synodic Cycle that we're going to go through. But I first want to show you this image here. This image here is really the foundational image for the name of the mystery school, the Rose Wheel Mystery School. And I actually received the name of the Rose Wheel Mystery School before I even knew about this image or even understood that as Venus moves through the sky, that she is making this rose pattern in the sky. And there's a whole story about that that's in another recording, but anyhow, so when you'll see, of course, that this is very much at the center, like the pentagram, and we're going to look closer at the pentagram, and each petal is a journey, a 19-month journey, and that 19-month journey is approximately 584 and a half days. So there's 4 main phases to this cycle. The first phase is the morning star phase. That's the phase that we are in right now. And this is the phase that represents Inanna's descent into the underworld. And every month through this phase, we have an activation, a gate activation that represents each of the gates that Inanna has to pass through to go into the underworld. And at each one of those gates, she has to give away one of her adornments. And so here at the crown chakra gate, she of course has to give away her crown. And the gate activation occurs when Venus in the sky comes into conjunction with the moon. That's how we know each month when the gate activation is going to be. So it starts here at the crown. It goes through each one of the chakras. Sometimes it ends at the root chakra. Sometimes, like in this journey, it's going to go through an 8th gate, which is called the Earth Star chakra, below the root. So after the morning star phase, then Venus is in what's called the Inanna underworld phase. And in the myth, this is where Inanna is hanging on the hook for 3 days, dead in the underworld with her sister. And then when Inanna comes back to life, she begins what's called the evening star phase. And this is when Inanna starts to ascend from the underworld. And again, each month there is a gate activation. And just like with the morning star phase, those gate activations occur when Venus and the moon come together in the sky. And it will start then down at the root chakra, and it will go all the way up to the crown, or in this case, we're actually going up to the soul star chakra. Mm. Once she has reached the crown or the soul star chakra, then she goes into what's known as the metamorphic underworld phase. And this is when Venus is retrograde for about 40 days. And in those 40 days, there are these 3 different phases of that metamorphic period. So the main piece of this is right here in the middle, as at the metamorphic underworld retrograde, which is the heart of the retrograde period, which is 8 days. So there's 16 days when the evening star is going retrograde, and it's completing and integrating the current goddess archetype. So right now it will be the Gemini goddess archetype that is the current archetype. Then we go into the heart of it for these 8 days, where there's this death and rebirth, where the Gemini goddess is dying and she's being born to a new goddess, which will be Capricorn, the Capricorn goddess. And that happens when the Venus and the Sun conjunction come together. That's called the seed point, where now the Gemini goddess has completely been transformed into, being mutated into this new goddess energy, which will be the Capricorn goddess. And then it'll start the morning star retrograde phase, where Venus rises as the morning star, but she's still in retrograde. And we start all over again with the morning star phase. And then the Capricorn goddess will go through this as well. We just completed, Wanda, this journey for the Libra meta goddess. So while we were in this metamorphic underworld, Libra then was morphed into at this seed point, which is the seed point of where the Gemini goddess energies came in, and the Gemini goddess was able then to come out of that metamorphic phase and rise as the morning star. Mm. So this journey that we're doing right now is focused on this part of the synodic cycle, the morning star phase. Okay. So that would be an 8-month journey.
Okay.
Anything you want to add to that, Maureen, to make it a little more clear?
No, that was perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
I really like your charts too. It's easy to follow. And
Okay.
I love your pictures. They're awesome.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I have to tell you, it took me years to figure this out because the way it was being taught to me, I couldn't make sense of it. And so I'm hoping that this helps you make sense of it because it was such a terrible feeling of disconnection to not be able to understand at this level what was going on.
Yes.
Okay. So here we've got the pentagram, which is, you know, what we see here. And as I said, we just completed Libra,
Mm-hmm.
and we are now coming from here down to here for Gemini. And when we go into that metamorphic underworld phase, then Gemini gets morphed into up here, Capricorn. And then we will go from Capricorn down here to Leo, and from Leo up here to Pisces. And this whole process to create this pentagram takes 8 years. And that's what you're seeing here in the middle of this rose wheel.
There's significance on the Pisces March 29th because my husband died on March 29th.
Oh, wow.
It has significance to me,
Yeah.
whatever it's supposed to be, but
Yeah. Wow. So does this make sense to you in terms of what's happening here in the sky?
mm-hmm.
And so at each one of these tips, we're going through that 19-month process.
Mm.
Okay.
Wanda,
Yes.
Go ahead.
what is your Venus in? What?
Eileen would, or Sophia would probably know better than
Let me look it up. Do you mind if I pause real quickly to go get my chart and look it up? Hold on a second.
What significance does that have, Maureen?
What your Venus in is how your female in your divine feminine will express through that sign, and then the overtone is what she rises in for the new cycle, and that informs your Venus. So I was just wondering what you were born with, what Venus was in your natal chart, because that's important too. And
Yeah. Let me pause the share here. And let's see here. I'll stop the share here. Okay. Let me find her chart. Hold on a second.
Yeah, she'll have a copy of it. You sent each of us a copy of it.
I
Is
sent
that what you
each.
sent us? Okay, I do have a copy of that.
Okay, and I was going to pull it up here too. Just a second here. Having problems with my mouse if you want to understand what's going on over on my side. Stuff is hidden behind the pictures and I can't move the picture. There, okay. Okay.
So, Maureen, I unfortunately I don't study astrology. I don't know my signs.
That's
Yeah.
all right, Wanda. I'm pulling it up right now, hon.
Sophia Mona Lisa can do wonders with a chart. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, she can help a lot.
Okay, so her Venus is in Cancer. And now I want to look up her overtone. Just give me a second. And I should have thought to do this ahead of time and I didn't, and I apologize.
What's your Venus and Maureen? And you
Mine is in Sagittarius.
okay.
And so my mission has always been to seek the truth. That's
Oh,
what Sagittarius does. She's an adventurer, always looking for the truth.
okay.
So each overtone informs my Venus, my Sag, so it's good
So to clarify that, Wanda, and Maureen and I both have our natal Venus in Sagittarius,
Uh-huh.
but at the time of our birth, in terms of where Venus was in this 19-month cycle, she was a Scorpio. She was a Scorpio meta goddess at the time of our birth, and Venus was born in Sagittarius. So while our inner feminine has this deep drive to always be questing for higher truths and for higher spiritual consciousness, that is very much influenced by all of the power behind the Scorpio meta goddess in terms of how we take the dross, the deep, what people call negative emotions, and we transform them to empower us to go higher and higher and higher. So I just told you that at the moment of your birth, Venus was in Cancer.
Yes.
And let me tell you which goddess was on the stage at the time of your birth. So the Aquarian meta goddess is the goddess that informs your Cancer inner feminine.
And what does that mean to me?
So your Cancer inner feminine is very much about creating safe spaces for people and nurturing people.
Yes.
Providing care and protection for people.
I would say that's true. Mm-hmm.
And the Aquarian goddess, if you'll remember, she's very much about the big picture, the being able to see from a multi-dimensional perspective in a kind of a detached way how you can nurture and create safe space for everybody, right? The entire collective consciousness of humanity.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Huge.
I don't think that's quite sunk in what that honor is about. So
that's okay. It'll start to make sense to you.
Maureen seemed to be impressed.
I am very impressed. That's quite a mission.
Yes, it is.
And don't we need that now? Don't we?
Yes.
We need a safe space for all Earth and her people and animals, everything that lives on her.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Thank you for asking that, Maureen, and thank you for taking the time to look that up for us.
Sure. Good question, because that's going to be it's another one of, thank you again, Maureen, because that is a foundational piece of the puzzle in terms of what you're going to be doing through this journey. So let me go ahead and share my screen again. And any other questions about this? Okay. All right, so I was getting ready to say that Gemini is known as the Rainbow Goddess. And here are some depictions of her as the Rainbow Goddess, in addition to the one that I showed you on the slide for opening sacred space. But what I love about this picture, and I've never seen it before, this is actually an image of Venus that's taken from a very famous painting of Venus. You've probably seen it, the one where she's like coming out of the seashell. So you can see that her face and her hair is very much resemblance of Venus's depiction in that painting. But look at what whoever took this and recreated it, they've turned her into the rainbow goddess. They've taken her locks and made them rainbow locks. And I just absolutely love this depiction. of Venus as the rainbow goddess. And then we know that Ixchel is the Mayan rainbow goddess. And I've never seen this depiction of Ixchel before, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. In fact, on my altar, when I was working to manifest our trip, my ability to join the trip to France from 3 years ago when I first found out about it, we were at a global goddess gathering, and they had us draw these cards from the goddess deck, and the card that I drew was Ixchel. And so on my altar, when I was working to manifest being able to take that Magdalene trip, I had my Ixchel card on the altar. So I love this particular image of her.
That is beautiful.
Isn't it? And you see these eyes here? Personally, they remind me of panther eyes. I don't know if they resonate that way to you, but that's what they remind me of. And look here how the snake is acting as her crown. And
Yes.
she does have her wings, kind of like a fairy's wings.
Yeah, and look at the skulls, which is a sign of death and rebirth.
Yep, here's one, and
that
then
is
over here. Yep.
That's really, I love that. Oh, and
Yeah.
the rabbit too.
Yeah. And the moon is up here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful picture of her. So, and some of the other aspects of the Gemini meta goddess, besides this overarching theme of being the rainbow goddess, Wanda, is we know her as a shapeshifter.
Oh,
So coyote medicine is very much involved in the Gemini meta goddess. We know her as the storyteller. Can you think of some other aspects, Maureen, that you can share?
No.
The creative muse is an aspect of the Gemini goddess.
Yeah. No, I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, there's
Wow.
a half a dozen different archetypes that
Yeah.
represent the Gemini meta goddess. But this main one is the rainbow goddess that we're working with.
Yes.
Okay, so let's shift gears now and talk about the crown chakra. I love this image of the crown chakra. So we know then
His
that
head.
the crown chakra connects our personal energy to source energy. And we know our personal energy, of course, is our Kundalini energy that rises between the, it goes up the Sushumna and it weaves back and forth between the Ida and the Pingala. That's how our Kundalini energy moves. It's the seat of it is the root chakra, and then it starts to move up, 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 up through the crown, and it connects us to our source energy. So when our crown chakra is open, it allows us to stay aligned with and connected to your vortex. Now that's an Abraham Hicks word, your vortex, everything that is that you desire to create. It keeps you connected to that, and it allows you to feel guided by your higher self. Now, higher self, this is a word that has many implications. So some people think of the higher self as the soul. I like to think of the higher self as that extension of source that is within you, your inner being. But being able to really connect with that greater part of yourself and being guided by that greater part of yourself. The crown chakra is activated and awakened through the energy of the sun. And the light of the sun clears blockages out of the crown chakra. So if that's something that you want to incorporate into your daily practice, you can spend more time outside. You can eat food and drink water or tea that has been placed in the sun, and you can wear crystals that have been bathed by the sun.
Mm.
And when the crown chakra is balanced and open, we feel at one with life. We enjoy every moment that is given to us. We feel on track with our higher calling, and we feel deeply connected to the whole universe. And of course, Wanda, having that Aquarian meta goddess overtone, this is something that's going to be second nature to you because of the fact that the Aquarian goddess is connected to that multi-dimensionality of the cosmos.
That's when I feel my best, when I'm outside and when it's really quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody want to add anything else here around the crown chakra that we are activating?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about some basic astrology terms because this is going to be really important as we go through the rest of our information today and over the next 8 months. So the first term that you'll hear a lot, and this is these terms that I'm giving you are kinds of aspects, how planets or luminary bodies kind of dance with each other. And the first one is called a conjunction. And a conjunction happens when two or more luminary bodies are standing close to each other in the sky. So with a gate activation, that's exactly what's happening. Venus and the moon are conjunct. They're standing in exactly the same place in the sky. Now, a conjunction can happen within 5 degrees. So they might be 5 degrees apart, or they might be closer and even at the exact same place. And with the gate activations, the moon and Venus are in exactly the same place in the sky. And when this happens, the energies of each luminary body merges with the other. And the merging of their energy creates a whole new dynamic. So we can see this effect when we blend colors. When we take red and yellow and we merge them, we get orange. When we take blue and yellow and merge them, we get green. When blue and red are merged, you get purple. So you see they're merging energies together and something new comes out of that merging of their energies.
Mm.
So does that help you understand what a conjunction is?
That's a great visual, yes.
Okay, Maureen, anything to add?
No.
Okay. All right, the next aspect that we want to make sure we understand is a trine. A trine is when two or more luminary bodies are standing 120 degrees to each other in the sky. So if you think about the basic wheel of astrology, it's 360 degrees. We have 4 elements: earth, water, fire, and air. So if earth, let's say, if earth is here at the top, water, fire, air, the next one is going to be earth. That's 120 degrees. So earth to earth is 120 degrees. Earth to earth is 120 degrees. Same for each element. From water to water, 120 degrees, and from water to water, 120 degrees.
Okay.
So if you go around between the 3, that adds up to the 360, which is the circle. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
So when there's a trine, the luminary bodies that are in this aspect are in the same element. They're going to either be in the same earth element or the same air element or the same water element or the same fire element. That's the nature of a trine. And what happens from this position is that the energies of the luminary bodies, they harmoniously flow to and support each other because they're in the same element. And we see this effect when we allow ourselves to be carried down a stream on our raft. That supporting energy that is allowing us to flow down the river is how the energies of those luminary bodies are supporting each other when they're in a trine. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. Anything to add, Maureen?
No,
Okay.
doing good.
All right.
Wonderful.
Now, believe me, there are many more aspects than the ones that we're going to go over, but because there can be so many aspects in the sky at the same time, we want to look at the ones that are giving us the most empowerment and the most significance. So the next one that we have is what's called an opposition. And this is when two or more luminary bodies are standing at 180 degrees across the sky from each other. So we see this represented as an axis, right? An axis like on a seesaw. This is the axis or the base of this triangle.
Okay.
And what's happening during this opposition is that these energies are actually creating a polarity along this axis. And the intention is to raise the energies of the polarities up to this higher frequency, this point at the top of the triangle, what we call the apex. So they're raising their energies up and they're blending together to manifest an entire new creation that is the result of these polarities merging together.
Wow. Okay.
Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right, the next one I want to talk about is a grand trine. So what happens with a grand trine is that we've got two or more luminary bodies that are standing at 120 degrees from each other. But when this happens, all three signs of the same element are activated. So if the luminary bodies are in Earth, you're going to have a body in Capricorn, you're going to have one in Taurus, you're going to have one in Virgo.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay. If it's a water grand trine, then the element that's being activated is water, and the water signs are involved. So you're going to have bodies in Cancer, body or bodies in Scorpio, body or bodies in Pisces. And the same for the other elements.
Okay.
Fire is Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, and air is Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And so what we see when we have a grand trine in the sky is that their energies are coming together to create a stabilizing effect, just like this little stool that you could sit on is stabilized by these three legs. You take one leg away, what happens? It tips over. So anytime there's a grand trine, it's giving you a stabilizing effect, and the stabilizing effect is being influenced by whatever element is being activated. So if it's an Earth grand trine, the stabilizing effect has to do with physical manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a water grand trine, it has to do with the emotional realm, nurturing you in some new way, creating a whole new safe space for your emotions. If it's a fire grand trine, it has to do with creative action, inspired action. And if it's a air grand trine, it has to do with the mental realm, expanding consciousness in a whole new stabilizing way.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense to both of you?
I like good signs.
Yeah, they're really groovy. Anything you want to add to this, Maureen?
No, that is really clear. I've never been real clear on the grand trine before. That helps a lot.
Okay, excellent. Well, and the reason why I'm going over these is because they're involved in our first gate activation. So you got to know what's going on with those. And the next one we want to look at is what's called a T-square. So I put this image together. You'll see it's called a T-square because it looks like a T. See how it's got the top of the T and then the base of the T.
Mhm.
So it's similar to the effect of an opposition that we talked about earlier, because we do have two luminary bodies standing at 180 degrees across from each other, which creates the top of the T, what we were calling the axis or the bottom of the triangle before. In this instance now, it's creating the top of the T. So you still have this polarity effect. So you'll see out here we got water, here we got earth, because that would be an example. It's either going to be water and earth, or it's going to be fire and air. That's how it's going to be. Okay. So the intention then, rather than raising those energies up to the apex and creating at a higher frequency something brand new, what the intention is again to raise the energies, but towards the luminary body that's located at the base of the T. So whatever is standing here, it's receiving the impact of these energies raising their frequency. And so what happens is that this luminary body is being given two distinct opportunities for breakthroughs in consciousness. And that's the effect of the two squares. Whoops, sorry. The two squares here that are being created through the T square. That's where the square part of the T comes in. This 90-degree angle is a square, and this 90-degree angle is a square. And a square is an opportunity for a breakthrough in consciousness.
When you say that it's an opportunity, does that mean if a person doesn't recognize it or is resisting it, it wouldn't happen?
Yes, because if you think about a threshold, a door, right? A door has four squares, right? Four 90-degree angles. You open that door, it's an opportunity to step across the threshold into something new. But it's an opportunity. You can choose not to step across the threshold, right?
Oh, okay. So if I'm staying in my stubborn state, I would be not taking advantage of an opportunity. Okay.
Right. But remember, the cosmos comes around again and provides you another opportunity. And so, you know, every flower blooms in its own perfect timing. And just because the opportunity's there doesn't mean if you've missed it, you're screwed, because you will have another opportunity.
They get more intense too, don't they, the opportunities?
Right, just like Maureen was talking about the 2x4.
Yeah.
They do get more intense.
Okay.
And so these T squares are really opportunities for expanding your consciousness in a way that you are evolving yourself forward. And if you like the word ascension, you know, that's what's happening. It's an opportunity to ascend your consciousness to a whole new level.
Okay.
Does this aspect make sense to you?
Yes.
Maureen, how you doing?
Yeah, it does to me too. It makes total sense. But what I've noticed that with me, because I don't always understand what the two energies are going to do together, is that just being open and aware and saying, yes, I'm ready. Show me what this can do for me, or what I can do during this time is often enough to bring it in, you know.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
I really like that wording better. I think that I've always said, what less am I supposed to learn? But I like your wording better, Marie. Yeah.
Yeah, it helps to know that you don't have to know exactly what is available to you from that energy point. just be open to it,
Yeah,
and it comes.
right.
And then you talk to Sophia Mona Lisa.
Yeah, it's the intention set. Intention is everything. If the
Yes.
intention is to flow with it, then whatever it's going to look like,
Mhm.
it will happen for you.
Yes.
Oh,
She
hi.
wanted to come up and say hello to everybody.
Hello there. Aw.
All right, so now we're going to get into the aspects of this first gate, which is going to be exact tomorrow. And you can see here, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different aspects. What we're going to do is you'll notice here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different trines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different oppositions. We've got a grand fire trine going on. We've got a T-square going on.
Wow.
We've got some heavy duty conjunctions. Venus and Moon are going to be conjunct Medusa and Asmodeus. All 4 of these luminary bodies are in the same place in the sky tomorrow.
Wow.
We've got Pallas Athena, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn being conjunct. All 4 of those in the same place in the sky. And look, all 4 of them are retrograde. So while I'm giving you all of the aspects, and we can talk about these more specifically in terms of you and your own session, the 3 that we're going to talk about today are these first 3, because in terms of the heavy hitters, these are the grand slams right here. Okay.
What does GE and LI and AR, what are those imprints?
Thank you for asking. So these are conjunctions for the astrology sign that these luminary bodies are in. So GE is Gemini,
Oh,
LI is Libra,
okay.
AR is Aries, LE is Leo, SG is Sagittarius,
Okay, thank you.
CP is Capricorn, CN is Cancer,
Okay.
VI is Virgo, PI is Pisces.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's take some time and look at each one of these 3 individually. Okay, so a lot's happening tomorrow. So listen, over the next month, you're going to feel like you're on a taffy pool. I'm just going to be straight with you. Be gentle with yourself. Allow it. Because we know that what this is doing is it's taking away any resistance that is being stored in this crown chakra that is interfering with our ability to maintain a full-on connection with source, with our higher self. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions about that?
Mm-mm.
All right, let's look at the first one. Oh, here's the chart. I can keep coming back to it. You can see here, here's the first one that we're talking about. Venus and the Moon conjunct at 13, very close, Medusa and Asmodeus. And they're in Gemini, and we can see that they're trine Juno and Libra. So you'll have this slide, and you'll also have this chart. This chart is on the resources page, and of course, all of the slides are on the resources page.
Okay.
We've got the grand fire trine here, Eris and Aries, the Magdalene and Leo, Ischion and Sagittarius, grand fire trine.
Oh, wow, that really shows. Okay.
Okay, then here we've got the T-square, right? Look at this. All of these planets retrograde, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter, Pallas Athena, opposite Vesta and the Sun, and they are T-squared Eris. So remember, whatever's happening here between Capricorn and Cancer, these energies, these are a lot of energies. This is manifesting a whole new reality for Eris, the goddess Eris, and how she is influencing us. Remember, you've got this breakthrough in consciousness opportunity, and you've got this breakthrough in consciousness opportunity.
Okay.
Okay, so I color coded that so that you could kind of see how these three aspects look. And meanwhile, not only do we have this T-square, but simultaneously, these four luminary bodies are in a trine to the goddess Sedna. I mean, this is intense. That's why it's a lighter blue, to kind of distinguish it from the T-square, but it's still a part of this activation. So what that means is that anything that crosses Eris or the Vesta and Sun during this next month, because they're a part of this T-square, and so they are activating these four planets. The moment these four planets become activated, Sedna is benefiting from that.
And what does Sedna mean to Maureen and I?
Well, so I'm going to get into that next. Are you willing to wait?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So does this picture look really good to you? Does that help you kind of, she's supposed to have a little purple circle around her, but I guess I didn't think to do that.
Oh, that's one of the best. I can really see now, like the trine and the T-square, where old charts, it was like, what? So this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Good. All right. So now we'll go to that first one. So in this first gate, the first main thing, because it is the gate activation, we're looking at the Venus Moon conjunction and the fact that that conjunction is being significantly activated by Medusa and Asmodeus. Here's Asmodeus, Wanda. I'm going to let Maureen talk to you about Asmodeus in a second. And here is Medusa. Notice how we've got masculine and feminine energies here that look very similar, don't they?
Gnarly, yeah.
So I'm going to let Maureen talk to you about Asmodeus.
Okay. Asmodeus is, I don't know if I'm the right one to do this. I get it fouled up.
You'll be fine, Maureen, I'm sure.
I
You know more than I.
He is thought of as the devil. You can see the resemblance in the statue. He is often thought of as the devil. But I look at it as a light bringer. When I first saw this image, I absolutely understood he was the morning star. He was the light bringer. He brought things to light that we might not recognize on our journey. And so I was drawn to him immediately. And I just could not get away from him. I just kept being drawn back. He was in the church. This is in a church where we visited in France. And it was so powerful to me that I just kept standing there and staring at him, because I recognized he wasn't the devil in the old sense of the devil. He's like the light bringer. He's the morning star. As I said, he helps you understand your path much, much better. He lights it. And so they had to put him in glass, because he's the first thing you see when you walk into the church. And many people were incensed by him. And he has gone through a lot of damage. They've had to restore him at least twice. And so they finally put him in a glass so he would be protected. But that's what it means to me. And I actually put an image of him on my altar, because I think he's sacred. And where he is in your chart, is sacred. So a lot of people might call me Luciferian or someone who follows Satan, but that's not what he is about at all.
Mm.
And Maureen and I are very much on the same page regarding Asmodeus. And notice that the shawl that they have on Asmodeus, what color is that?
It's like a blue, like the ocean water, fresh.
And who is this color associated with?
Oh, Shiva? No, who?
Well, we see this color in images of Mother Mary, and we see this color in images of Mary Magdalene.
Oh.
Yes, they're both connected to him, very much so, in a good way.
So
Maureen.
in Greek, the word demon is daimon, Daemon. And a daimon is a spirit being that is sent to you to help you on your path. And the way I personally look at him is that he allows us to identify our inner demons, those places of resistance that we are now ready to let go of so that we can transmute that energy and expand our evolution.
Mm.
Absolutely.
Now, Medusa, I did a whole blog on Medusa, and you'll see the name of the blog here, Medusa's Sacred Gift to Humanity. On the resources page, there is a link to this blog. I really encourage both of you to read this blog to get, again, a different perception of Medusa.
Okay.
Because she has been demonized through patriarchy. And in fact, the way that I interpret her energies, and I have not come across anybody that interprets her energies the way that I do, is that she helps us identify within us the patriarchal fears that paralyze us. So we've got Venus, the sacred feminine, Moon, the great mother, Medusa, the goddess who helps us identify the patriarchal fears that paralyze us, and Asmodeus, the daimon who allows us to identify the inner demons that are still within our crown chakra. All of that in Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. So we're talking about the mental realm. We're talking about consciousness. Gemini is the free thinker. It's playful. It's the creative muse. All of these energies are trine. So we know that this is a harmonious flow from an air sign to an air sign. Juno in Libra. Juno, oh, I didn't put her. Oh, I did. I just spelt it wrong. I apologize. This should say Juno, not June. Juno is the goddess of sacred partnership. And Libra is the sign of the peacemaker, the powerful partner, cooperation and teamwork. So when we look at all of these energies together and we try to blend them, some of the questions that we can ask ourselves, and these are just some of them from these key words that I've shared here, is how do we envision being in sacred partnership with our crown demons so that our fears are transmuted to empower our connection with Source. This is a theme that is available to us through this aspect. Another theme could be, what are the patriarchal fears that prevent you from having a fully open crown chakra?
When you mention patriarchal fears, what are those?
So any wounding that has occurred within you, physically, emotionally, mentally, that as the result of the abuse of power.
Oh, any power. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So it could be sexual power, it could be monetary power, it could be relationship power,
Thank
right?
you.
Boss over employee, husband over wife, parent over child.
Sibling over sibling.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the big one here, because Asmodeus is involved in this aspect, what are your crown chakra demons? Are you disconnected from your creative muse? Does this disconnection cause you to have abandonment issues? Have you given up your voice to keep the peace? And so do you feel like you're not heard?
Mm.
These are just some of the themes, but you can take these and other representations, other keywords that represent these energies, and blend them together to come up with your own questions. So just take a good look at those. And if you can think of something right now that might be a good question to delve into, go ahead and share it.
Yeah, I see yes, Gemini in a playful sense as our inner child. And so a good place to look to see if you have lost some of your personal power during that time in your life because of domination or abuse, or just children should be seen and not heard. All those things that we learned when we were growing up that actually made us less sure of our own being, the strength of our own self. And I see that as very much a part of both the feminine and the masculine.
This is a beautiful example of that, Maureen, because look at Venus and the moon, love and nurturing. What
Yes.
aspect of your inner child is paralyzed in fear that needs the love and nurturing of the Venus and moon so that you can now have a sacred relationship with your inner child?
Good.
See how this is working, Wanda?
I'm not, no.
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to take the components here that I've broken down
Okay.
and look at the keywords that I've provided for them
Okay.
and blend them together in a way that poses a question that that your consciousness, that taps your consciousness to start opening up to receiving these energies and sharing inner wisdom with you.
So in other words, when I'm looking at Libra with cooperation and teamwork, I have a great deal of my life, I can be very uncooperative, and I'm not a team player when I feel like you've really wronged me. So is that what you're talking about? This is, if I'm trying to understand where that came from or why I have those blocks.
That's a really good way to look at that. What patriarchal fear paralyzed you in such a way that you are unwilling to cooperate with others and be a team player with others?
That's pretty deep. Wow.
It is very deep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how will identifying those demons allow you to create a sacred partnership with others so that you can be cooperative and you can be a part of a team?
Without giving up your own power. Yes.
Yes.
That's the trick, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. And so then tomorrow, if I spend some time today trying to um, open that up, then tomorrow that opening is going to help with these issues, or is that all month long?
It's going to be happening all month long because tomorrow's the activation, but this is a process. It's a journey. It's going to unfold over the course of the next month until we have our next gate activation. And there's no definitive start and stop. So even though the next gate activation will happen, what's happening at the crown chakra, that energy is moving down. It's going to also influence now what's happening at the third chakra and so forth and so on.
Okay.
So it's really a journey of discovery, what things have taken your power away at each one of these chakras.
And so,
And that, go ahead.
So what took my power away is what is causing me at times to be uncooperative and not being a team player.
Well, and so we know that there is a fear, some kind of a fear that is preventing you from being cooperative and a team player.
Okay.
And so between Medusa and Asmodeus and Juno and the Gemini Libra energies and the Venus moon energies here of nurturing that and loving you regardless because they see you as whole and perfect, how can you identify that in a way that will allow you to take back your power?
Okay. Thank you. That is making a lot more sense now.
And that's why it's good to know the different aspects of the Gemini goddess, because yes, the inner child is an aspect of the Gemini goddess that we didn't talk about earlier. The inner child, the creative muse, the storyteller. Of course, the rainbow goddess has to do with your chakra system and your multidimensionality, which is really important for you, Wanda, because of your Aquarian goddess overtone. The coyote, the trickster, right? The shapeshifter. These are different aspects of Gemini. So when you're looking at these keywords, and there are other keywords, you can Google what are the keywords for Libra? What are the keywords for the goddess Juno?
Okay.
You can find your own keywords and the ones that resonate with you. Notice how cooperation and teamwork resonated with you, whereas inner child resonated with Maureen. Mm-hmm. See, it's different for everybody. And then what we're going to be doing on a personal level is we're going to be looking at your solar return chart and looking at where is this happening in your personal solar return chart, because that's a whole nother layer of emphasis of like taking that laser and cutting through to how it's personally impacting you.
Okay.
So I know for Wanda, I think it's happening in her 8th house. Maureen, I think it's happening in your 11th house. So 8th house is all about power issues. 11th house is all about the collective consciousness. So that then gets layered on top of this and can tweak these questions. But we'll do those in the personal sessions.
Okay.
Does this make sense to you?
Yes, thank you. It helped a great deal.
And I think if you read this blog post about Medusa, that'll also help give you some insight into how she is assisting us with this gate activation.
I'll read that after we're finished today.
You ready to move on to the next one?
Yes, thank you.
Maureen, you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so remember we're looking at themes here, and these questions help us discover these themes. All right, so now we're going to look at the grand fire trine. And what I love about this picture is you can see that if you're going to build a really good bonfire or campfire, how do you create it? You create it by setting the wood up like a tripod, right? And it allows this spark to really ignite and take off. So this is really a beautiful representation of the energy behind a grand fire trine. So what do we have going on here? We have the goddess Eris in Aries, and she's trine the Magdalene in Leo, and she's trine Ischion in Sagittarius, and Ischion is retrograde. So the thing to remember about retrogrades, that retrogrades are an inner journey. That's energy that's pulling you into yourself to alchemize, transmute something in yourself to make it something valuable to you, okay? So here we'll start with the goddess Eris. She's a goddess of radical truth. I would recommend Wanda because she might be new to you other than what I've shared with you in readings. You know, you can Google what is the myth of the goddess Eris and read about it, because there might be aspects about her myth that really resonate with you. The aspect of her myth that resonates with me that I've experienced over and over again is that whenever I have spoken my radical truth, I have been banished from the circle, from the tribe, from the family. Okay. Okay. The Magdalene, she's a high priestess and she's in service to conscious equal partnership. She and Jesus or Isa or however you want to call him, they modeled, they embodied conscious equal partnership as they walked on this planet. Ischion. Ischion is the unforgivable wound. If you Google Ischion, you're going to hear the unforgivable sin. For me, I don't resonate with the unforgivable sin. I resonate with the unforgivable wound. Now, it may be that you were raped and that is an unforgivable sin, but what we're dealing with is the effects of that act, which is the unforgivable wound. You may have been, you know, abandoned by your mother and left in a orphanage or with a family member and never saw her again. That's the unforgivable sin, but it's the abandonment issues that result from that that are the unforgivable wound. Okay?
Do you think adoption would fall under that too for some?
Yes, it would. Being put up for adoption, yes. And if you're at all familiar with that television program where the people come to the man and woman to help find their birth parents, you can see by listening to their stories how being given up for adoption and going through that abandonment has been they have been carrying that wound for their lifetime. You know, 30s, 40s, 50s, 80s, it doesn't matter. They're carrying that wound. They want to know why. What was wrong with me that I was thrown away? Aries is the sign of self-love. It's also the sign of the fierce protectress, because what Aries energy will do is it will look at who is being scapegoated. It will look at who is being exploited. And it doesn't have to be who, it can be what. It can be the planet herself and her resources. It could be the animals, or it could be human beings. And so Aries has a fierce need to defend and protect those that are being exploited and scapegoated. And ultimately, though, it's about self-love. Leo is the heart-centered creator. Leo is a very radiant energy, radiates confidence, radiates power. It's a very regal energy. Sagittarius is the quester for that highest truth, the explorer of spiritual consciousness. So we've got all of the pieces here in this fire trine. And when we start to blend these together, some of the themes that we might ask ourselves are, what truth around our unforgivable wound do we need to find so that the light of our crown chakra can radiantly shine?
When you say what truth, is that what, could you explain that a little bit more?
Yes, so remember, Eris is the goddess of radical truths.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm asking what truth around your unforgivable wound do you need to find? Well, maybe your mother abandoned you because she was 14 years old and you were the product of a rape and she couldn't take care of you.
Oh, the truth. Okay. Why did that wound happen to us? Okay.
Just as an example.
Yeah. But it's why did that happen to the wound?
It can be any kind of a truth. Any kind of a truth. And what happens is just by asking the question, Wanda, the answer shows up for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So it might not be a truth about how that unforgivable wound happened. It may be a truth about what is the gift in that unforgivable wound that you need to be aware of so that you can receive it.
Okay.
Or any other kind of truth that reveals itself to you.
Okay.
So then how will that radical truth about yourself allow you to receive the love of your capital S self, right? Your higher self, in a way that will ignite a new consciousness of self-love within you. I mean, Source and our higher being, they're constantly showering us, infusing us with love. And yet we go through life and there are so many occasions where we don't feel it. We put the umbrella up and we're not feeling that love come to us. So how will this truth allow you to receive that love? Put the umbrella down so that it can ignite a new consciousness within you, so that you can have this consciousness of self-love within you. We're not looking to others to love us. We don't need them to. We love ourselves.
Okay.
And how is the Magdalene serving the goddess within you so that you can create your life from a newly designed structure that supports conscious equal partnership with yourself? Think of this trine here, right? The tripod stool, the structure that allows this fire to spark and ignite. That's a newly designed structure. How does this grand fire trine as a structure support conscious equal partnership with yourself, your capital S self, that part of you that is an extension of Source, your soul, your higher being, whatever you want to call it? And how is the Magdalene serving your inner goddess, right? The goddess within you, your inner sacred feminine, so that you can create that new conscious equal partnership?
Okay.
These are just some questions that you can ask. So take a look at these questions here, or these keywords here. Is anything else resonating? Anything else coming up that you could ask?
Mm-mm. I think the one that probably sticks out for me is the unforgivable wound, because I know most of my life I've just clung to my resentment and didn't want to forgive. And I am at a place moving into, I'm seeing that really is stifling me and wanting to change that behavior.
And so a question you might ask yourself, Wanda, is how can I, as the fierce protectress, allow myself to create a new way of being with my unforgivable wound?
Mm. Wow, that sounds powerful. Okay. Okay.
Anything jumping out at you, Maureen?
Well, Eris has always been a really significant myth to me, because one of my biggest fears was always being left out, not being included in a group, not being invited to a party, not being considered someone you might want to actually be with. You know, it's just all of that has really bothered me from probably maybe junior high on. That's when it really started. That's when people start getting their groups together and excluding or including, and my high school was well known for it. I mean, maybe all high schools like that. So, you know, being resentful because I don't feel important enough to be invited to a party, you know.
Right.
That's the myth of Eris, right? She wasn't invited to the party, and so she sent the golden apple to cause dissent,
Mm-hmm.
which she did. And yeah, that's definitely a part of my wounding, even, you know, is.
So looking at this Sagittarius energy, because our inner feminines are Sagittarian, what
Mhm.
kind of a question could you ask yourself around all of this?
I'm not good at questions. Well, maybe why does my self-esteem rely so much on what other people feel about me, or what I perceive other people feel about me? That's that seems like a valid question about it. You know,
It is a
why
valid
is that
question.
so important for you know, for me for so long? I feel like I've gained a lot of wisdom around that,
Mm-hmm.
but it certainly was influential for many, many years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't
How
know.
about how does my exploration of spiritual consciousness allow me to be able to stand in radiant confidence and power?
Yeah, that's also very, very good. Yes. Yeah, I don't think I've ever related the two before. My quest for truth, or radical truth, with my problem about being included. I don't think I've ever connected that. No. This will
Right,
be
because when we
interesting.
are standing in radiant confidence and power, it doesn't matter to us if we're included or not, right? Because we're not perceiving
No,
ourselves as less than.
exactly. And that's the whole issue, isn't it? Less than. Um,
Yeah. So when
yeah,
you're,
I must have drawn that Eris card for my daily drawing. I must have drawn her more than any other card in the whole deck.
yeah,
Finally, I just left her out and put her on my altar.
I can understand that. I can understand that. So when we're asking ourselves the questions, we know what kinds of questions. who, what, when, where, and why.
Okay.
But we don't want to ask who. We don't want to ask when. We don't want to ask where. We don't want to ask why. Because this gets into like the psychic realms that we want to stay out of. We want to just open the door, make a crack in consciousness for it to come in. So asking what and then how are really good questions. So if you can create a what question and or a how question, these allow the consciousness to crack open so that it can come streaming through.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And so just a quick question, if I may.
Sure.
Because you're part of our group,
Mm-hmm.
would you be comfortable sharing what part of this affects you or you're drawn to?
I am. I would say that for me, in terms of where I am, I know I'm the fierce protectress. I know people don't like it when I step into that energy. Why? I don't know why. From my experience, I know that people don't appreciate it. And so my question to myself would be, how can I be in conscious equal partnership with my inner fierce protectress so that I can radiate confidence and power?
Thank you.
Because I have a similar wound, a wound of being excluded.
Me too.
A wound of being scapegoated, a wound of being falsely accused and judged and having intentions put on me that are not, that are the farthest thing from my mind I would never think of.
Yeah, that for me as well. Yeah.
And so I don't choose to let go of my fierce protectress because I think she serves me well and I think she can serve others well. And so I've got to find a way to be in conscious equal partnership with her so that I am able to stand in that radiant confidence so that if other people don't like it, it doesn't matter to me.
That's good.
And I would say that's where I am in my life is being comfortable standing with my decisions of what is my, the word isn't coming to me, but what is my truth, and not caving in because the whole area doesn't agree with what I'm doing. It's like learning to be comfortable standing in that space.
Right.
That's what you two are also doing, is that correct?
Yes, yes. And remember to bring this back around to the crown chakra, because anywhere where we feel less than, we are diminishing this light and this connection from our crown chakra to our greater self and to source.
Yes, thank you. Oh, I am so glad I've taken this course with you too.
Good.
Yeah.
I am too.
Yeah, yeah. So anything more about this aspect and its themes, or are we ready to move on to the last one?
I'm clear.
Good? Okay. We're running a little over, but we started a little late, so. All right. Now, this is a huge, you saw the picture. Let me just remind you, let me show you the picture here, right? You've got this T square going on, and then you've got these in trying to Sedna. Okay, so this is a huge activation, which is why I saved it to last. So we have Pallas Athena, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn. All of them conjunct in Capricorn. And they are opposite the Vesta and Sun conjunction in Cancer. And that opposition is creating a T-square to Eris in Aries. Now, Eris is important in this activation because isn't this the second time we've seen her involved in an aspect?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yes.
So this gives us a clue that these themes around this radical truth, the radical truth of who we are, can we stand in the radical truth of who we are and not allow those patriarchal fears to diminish our light? And this Pallas Athena, Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn being trine Sedna in Taurus. So we've got Earth energy going on here in this trine. We've got the Earth water opposition, and it's all pointing to Eris and Aries. This fire, remember, it's inspired action, Remembering all of these retrograde energies, this is something that's happening within us. We are alchemizing a huge piece within us that is allowing our crown chakra to let go of its inner demons. So let's look at the pieces here. And we got a lot of it in play. We got Pallas Athena. She's the goddess of strategy. You know what you need to get done. She can figure out how to do it. That's the goddess of strategy. Jupiter, he's the cosmic guru, the cosmic teacher, and he is a great blessing giver. And he also amplifies and expands whatever you're focused on. So this is a lot of energy here to take whatever effort we put into this inner journey and expand it by a multitude. So what is it? There's, you know how like you can use a lever, like a lever to move a huge rock that you wouldn't be able to push by yourself because you've got the power of the lever. So you've got so much more power to move than you would without it. That's kind of the effect of Jupiter. You do a little bit of work and you get monumental results because of the expansive power of the Jupiter influence. Pluto is the cosmic transformer. So anything that is in the way of this happening for us is getting transmuted. It's getting transformed because it no longer serves us. Saturn, or as I like to call her, Saturnia, she is the cosmic gatekeeper, meaning anything out there in source that's going to be manifest here on Earth comes through her. She's that birth canal through which source manifests on Earth. She is the goddess of sovereignty, our ability to stand in our power, in the truth of who we are. Vesta, she's the goddess of Shakti, that Shakti energy. And when we are aligned with that Shakti, you know, people express it as orgasmic. It's a passion. It's something that you wake up knowing you have to do. Also, she's known as virginal, but not virginal in the way that we think of not having had sex. Virginal in the way that she is fully complete unto herself. She doesn't need anyone else to do it for her or to tell her she's okay. The sun is the source of fuel, the fuel that fuels you. What is it that fuels you? Here we see it's in Cancer, so the kind of fuel we're talking about is emotional fuel. The passion that we're talking about here with Vesta, emotional passion. Eris, we know, as the goddess of radical truth. Sedna, this goes back to your earlier question, Wanda, about Sedna. I really encourage you to Google the myth of Sedna. Basically, what happens is her father gives her away to this monster. She wants to leave him. She feels abandoned by her father. When the guy she's married off to discovers she's run away, he comes back to get her. The father's trying to give her back to him. She doesn't want to go back to him, so the father throws her over the boat. She's clinging to the boat for dear life, and he cuts off her fingers so that she drops to the bottom of the ocean. This is a huge patriarchal story, a huge story of patriarchal wounding. And what happens is, as she floats to the bottom of the ocean, her hands transform into seal's flippers. And she completely transforms herself in a way that she is now able to thrive, not survive, but thrive in an entirely new and foreign environment. And the Inuit people would pray to her to bring the riches of the ocean to them, to feed them. So she is a mother goddess, and she has the way of taking all of those wounds from patriarchy and transmuting them in a way that you can now thrive in this new environment, this place where you never thought you would find yourself. How can I live with this? Well, now you can, because she's transmuted it for you. Aries is self-love, the fierce protectress. Taurus is the connoisseur of life, the sensualist, the pleasure seeker. Cancer is the nurturer, the provider of safe space. Capricorn is the ancient eldom and the wisdom keeper. And so what I would like for you to do, or when I meet with you personally, is to come up with 2 or 3 questions around this aspect that would be themes that are resonating with you for this activation. So we've practiced it twice, and you guys did a great job. And this is a lot of information here. But as I said, what and how questions, and pick out the pieces that really speak to you. And remember, with the T-square, breakthroughs in consciousness. What breakthrough in consciousness around such and such will help me achieve such and such is a basic question that you could start with and use it as a jumping off place. How does that feel?
I think it's wonderful. I'm kind of excited to have that focus.
And remember, with these T-squares, you know, the pressure of the T-square is very similar to the pressure that is placed on coal in order to create a diamond. These diamonds represent the breakthrough in consciousness.
I'm ready for a breakthrough. Yeah. Nice.
So remember, when you're doing this, the cosmic dance, because these energies are in play, Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter are in play in that final aspect. January 12th, we had the Saturn conjunct Pluto. Keep in mind that the Saturn conjunct Pluto is a major planetary aspect that occurs approximately every 34 years. And it's a slow evolutionary process that's building new foundations on which to prosper in the coming years. So weave that in. Remember, this year we're having a triple Jupiter-Pluto conjunction. We've had 2 of them already, April 4th and just recently June 30th. We'll have another one in November. And I wrote a blog post called The Cosmic Tapestry of the Gemini Goddess that refers to the most recent Jupiter-Pluto conjunction and really talks about the foundation for this entire 8-month or 19-month journey. So there is a link to this blog post on the resources page too. So those can kind of help you as well with formulating the questions, because these are huge aspects that are happening during this year to catapult the evolutionary expansion of the collective consciousness of humanity. And we can see now that they're playing a role in these gate activations. And even though the rest of humanity doesn't know they're going through these gate activations, they are. So by consciously engaging with them, you're receiving the benefit of this cosmic dance.
Okay.
All right. Any questions and answers? That's a lot of information today, I know. But you know me, I pack a lot in.
All good.
Of course, you can contact me at any time if a question comes up later, but just in terms of what we've covered, if anything comes to mind.
I thought you were really thorough, and I'm sure I'll have more questions later. But wow, I just feel so excited about starting this journey with you too. I feel very safe with you, Maureen. I feel very included because you asked about my Venus, and it just feels like a really nice triad group of us here. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Wanda. I'm glad you feel that way.
Yes. I feel that way too. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, ladies, I'll let you go. I'll get this posted. And then the next piece is to schedule your individual sessions with me. And remember, we've got, from now until the next gate activation. So, whenever it's convenient for you, please be aware that the weekends now are the best time for me, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Because I am going back and forth to Daytona to work at the school and working at home during the week for the school too.
Okay.
What would you suggest for a time frame? Are you thinking we need to schedule it out a couple of weeks, or what are your thoughts, Sophia?
Well, you may want to schedule it out a couple of weeks just so that you can integrate all this information. I don't want to inundate you because the next piece is going to be like this on steroids. Right? Because it's going to be personal to you and how this is weaving in with your solar return chart.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's a whole new lens to look at this information from in terms of how it's personally activating you.
Would you be comfortable if I scheduled it like a week out? Because I've got a lot going on and I'm curious about how it's affecting me and how I'm changing. Are you comfortable with that? Just to ask.
I am. I just want it to be comfortable for you. I don't want you to
Be overwhelmed.
yeah, and then feel like you're going to drop out.
Thank you. I really look forward to working with you and Maureen next month.
Excellent. Excellent.
Good. Yes.
Okay. All right, my dears. Thank you so much for showing up today. And I'm so excited we got to do this before tomorrow. So tomorrow when the activation happens, you will just at least have the awareness heightening that this is a huge deal.
I am aware it is. I don't understand all the ramifications yet, but I sometimes like just being aware of it and understanding who the players are, can open it up for you.
Yeah, and that's part of the mystery, isn't it, Maureen? We don't really know, and it can show up in any way for us. But the fact that we're open to seeing how it's going to show up for us, how the mystery is going to reveal itself to us, that's the dance.
Yeah, that's the dance. Yes.
And if you don't mind, I would like one last question. I'm getting a sense, and certainly not wanting to put anyone on the spot, but I'm kind of, for me, because I'm wondering if Maureen would also be comfortable in sharing, or Eileen, Sophia sharing Maureen and my information between us, so that if something's intense, we can call and say, this is what's going on. Is that acceptable or allowable?
I highly encourage it. I was honoring your privacy, which is why I was blind copying the both of you on the emails. I am going to create a private Facebook group so we can share stuff as it comes up, little ahas that we get, or any questions for support or insight. So we can do it that way too. But you know, I think if you guys want to exchange information, that would be a great idea, so that you can support each other.
Okay. So when you create the page, then I'll friend you, Maureen, because I would very like, you're not always available, Sophia, at times when something may come up for me. So if you're comfortable with that, I'd really like to do that, Maureen.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay. Thanks so much. This has been awesome.
Right. Thank you. All right, ladies, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.